Chapter 1, laddies. My name is Chaz, and welcome to the season, or the probably part 4 of What If Warlock was in My Hero Academia. The part 4 or part 5, I can never remember. Because I know that I did 1, 2, and 3. Now this is just 4. So in this part, I may finish up the All for One thing. So yeah. So All for One Hun was doing his thing. Or actually, I think it was after her. So basically, everyone didn't realize how powerful he is. Then he, of course, Toga loves him so much. So, keep going. And Todoroki, so all of them, basically bumps him up to Class 1A. And Toga wants to be with him all the time. So then he told his friends, the Zuko and Bakugo and Zumi, about why he doesn't want to share that power with them. Because they might get corrupted by his power, turning them into the most power crave people that are all that stuff. So then the overhaul fight thing happened, so then the time skip to the future, where Toga is now age 18. And, of course, they got married. And because of the time part that he put on her belly thing, so it got removed. As her stomach went from being this, because she was still a kid, or she was that age, she gets turned, or her, so she ends up having a triplets, 3. Or I was gonna, how about 6 kids? Yeah. And the father, or the Warlock's father wants him back, in the family. But everyone still calls him War. Hey, War, what's up, War, and all that stuff. As Ox understands that that power that wields inside your body really, if it was someone else, if it falls into someone else's hands, you would probably be we'll all be dead, right? Yes. So, yeah. So then his sister, her, visits, or should I say, his sisters, the three sisters, because there was 3 boys, 3 girls in the family. So both boys are like, yes, you did the deed before you got married, right? That I blame Toga for. Yeah. So basically, yeah. So then Toga and her parents became part of the family, like full family. As that's all he wanted was to become a pro hero and have a family. Yeah. So we went from being like in the first part, we went over how he met Toga, Himiko Toga, and fixed her problem. And then so then Zuko and Bakugo are like trying to think. And yeah, like why, or asks him, why do you always like hold or not telling us? Well, if I did told you, you would probably wanted to ask me so many questions. And you probably wanted to say to me that you probably wanted my power and it would probably corrupt you. So I was watching out for you. Not trying to be rude or. As Zuko, and Zumi and Bakugo understand that they don't need to hide any more secrets of it. Because now everyone knows. And now, the villains absolute want that power for their own. And all that stuff. Of course, he does that like a little, like he made a copy version of it to demonstrate what he means by that. Because Toga wants to see a demonstration thing, like to test. And when he put the power thing into her, like just a clone version, but the clone version lasts for 5 minutes. As Toga's body, she could feel the power flowing through her body as she couldn't control herself. As her eyes start to turn black with gold and pupils, and it corrupted her so bad. Her mind, but thank goodness it was his last for 5 minutes, so he has a timer thing. So then she becomes much more demonic. She tries to slash and dash and bite and try to rip people's heads off. But then, yeah, his friend or her husband walked up. He had no fear of the people that have small taste of his power. So he walks up to her, as she's still like, look at her eyes. She looks demonic. Yeah. Soon her horns would probably come out of her head. And as he was, of course, he knows. And when he kissed her, it lessens the time down to about 2 seconds. As, yeah, her demonic power, like that he did a testing. She went from she went from being this to being that demonic girl, then coming right back and to her as he was a little bit like she couldn't like control herself. She starts to tear up as she looks at him, then tears up, then she hugs him. Yeah, and because he's 18, he's way taller than her. So, and yeah, he or she could only reach all the way to his private part. Yeah. That's how tall. Oh. So, yeah. Like, AKA. Yeah. Yeah. So, then the kids had their powers, like their powers of, some of them have Momo's powers mixed with Todoroki's. Some have, like, each one has their own groups of quirks or powers. Yeah. Like reality, space, mind, soul, power thing. I think. Yeah. So Zuko. There's one thing, because the warlock hunk had this power before the little kids had. So he's immune to it because he was born infused with it. So no matter what reality they try to do, they're all immune to, like, themselves. Those two. But he also made Toga immortal. Mortal. like AKA into a, like, you see like nuns that from like Greek mythology and yeah, goddess, yeah, she became immortal. She can never age. She can never die. Yeah. As, yeah, only people that was able to have this was Toga's family and his family. So their combined families was, yeah. So I had this picture in my head for a long time thing, but it was just a prototype before I finally decide on Toga. But Toga wasn't the first one that I thought of making a corrupt version of. The girl that I was trying to choose was actually one of her. But because she was just a prototype thing, because for my original plan before I settled on Toga is that my original plan was that when she got corrupted, her breasts or like her entire body became like big in all the body parts. Ah. Yeah. So she looked like a girl that was like, this is of course, the end of the what ifs, so I'm just now gonna explain how Toga wasn't my first choosing. So I was gonna pick her, but then I would have probably been, because in the one that I drew was her wearing the same outfit, but her entire arm was covered in darkness, as you could see veins coming out of her face, like literally, like it's like the power was corrupting her mind, her, yeah, but her body, like this part of her body grew big thing. Yeah. So it looked like one of those ones that eat a lot. But instead of like, yeah, I'm trying to explain it not in a very like inappropriate way. But yeah. So yeah, I'll just say that her body, after she got corrupted and she became a, like, yeah. So yeah, it was my very first idea of using one of the Class 1B students. But my love is for Toga. So, because Toga is she's Toga. She's crazy, like me, and she has many powers. Or, like, she has the transformation quirk thing. But I'm on the offensive on, like, trying to drink someone's blood to actually gain forms. Well, but, so yeah. So she was the first pick. Like, just imagine her entire body, or like a certain part of her body, became like bigger than the rest. She only could like make her hands big. But yeah. So then, but my number 2 idea. So yeah. So that's what it was for her to have. But the one that now, the dark version, is basically, how will I put this without being demonetized? I'll just say it as is. So, in the dark version, like the corrupted version, everyone was like, it was like a normal hero thing. But then Toga stumbled upon a crystal, and it has negative powers like zero and infinity, but it turns a person into a, like, slowly transforms them and make them lose their insanity. Like, literally, she went from being an innocent girl that was on the top of her roof to being a real monster. She ripped the heads off of Zuko Midoriya, All Might, Momo, Ochako, everyone that she comes in contact with. She's like the female version of Doomsday. But instead of using their, or just leaving them behind, like what normal Doomsday does, she becomes fascinating into collecting their heads and their bodies. So, yeah. You do not want to know what happens when she used their bodies for her own personal toys. She plays with them. Not the way that you think. It's way too inappropriate thing. So, yeah. And she grabs the, like, a head ends of them. And because she has the powers of infinity and zero, she doesn't allow those heads or those bodies to age. Like, out of nothing. Like, there was nothing that the people from other way around the world could do. And because she was so corrupted because of people mistreat her as a villain and all that stuff. So she also grabs the government's that like file things as she had one of those government's heads on her like in her shirt or in her bra. Yeah, you don't want to know where that's gonna get to or do. And she uses the other. Yeah, it's so dark that's why I made it separate from the. That's why it's the end of this or what if. So yeah, it's pretty dark story where she also took over UA. And you know what she does? When she found out that, or like when the people or one of the persons that she had ripped his head off for, of course, Zuko Midoriya, she ends up making him into a same thing what she goes through. And yeah, Ochako, on the other hand, she got turned into a trophy on a wall. Yeah, I was gonna say Ochako was like, she had no head, but her body was on a wall, like nailed to the wall. But before, it was stripped, like all the clothes on Ochako's entire body was stripped down to nothing. As Toga says this to, of course, because Ochako's head was put on like how we do with deers. We put them on a wall. Well, that's what, as Toga tells Ochako in the demonic voice of, or like the demonic voice of, you probably don't need these anymore. I'll wear them real nice. They'll probably look good on me than on you. As she uses her finger wiped across the leg of Ochako's. Yeah. As Zuko, who was on the table, as yeah, Toga decides to do something really weird. So she walks over and she grabs his head, connects his his head to his body, and she used the strings to attach his head to his body, and she used the corruption power of her own power to make him corrupted as he comes back to life, like how a Frankenstein was. Yeah. He basically made Zuko her husband. Yeah. And yeah, so her husband and does that stuff. And weird part, this is a weird part. In her trophy room, like when you walk in to her trophy room. Sorry, I'm just checking the time. So she had everyone's like body strapped to the wall, but their heads are underneath, like right on a platter. Had her as she takes Zuko around a tour, and yeah, someone needs to like to stop her, but there's no one left on the planet except for her and Zuko. Both of them are corrupted, so yeah. And then when I say corrupted, I don't mean just like, oh, I'm gonna use who's this to bring you back to life. Literally, she brought Zuko back from the dead and made him all corrupted. Like, here, hold on. This one. Yeah, this is what Zuko looks like. It looked like because Toga transformed Zuko from being a one that wants to be a hero to being a straight up murderer like what Toga is. And they even had a son that had the same black like outlines like what Toga and Zuko have, and like darkest red that you could ever find on the like any colors. And so in her like trophy or head trophy room looked like it was a hallway full of heads, like just human heads, like aka it was as like that. That's what Ochako's head was mounted on. So yeah. And yeah. as Toga explains that no matter how many heads that I collect, as yeah, just imagine the one girl did all that, and like she got from being like, and her power even couldn't stop growing. So she went from this to this. Yeah, she grew like horns out of her head. So she has things because of her quirk, er, er, and she has like demented eyes, like with black things, and her horns grew out of her head through these years, as she could use the portal to teleport herself or any object or anyone away. So, and she conjured up like torturers, molesters, and yeah, like she created them to do her bidding. And yeah, so the hold on. So Zuko became that, but he wasn't tortured or have his head hanging on a wall with like body parts, or like his body he over on top of it nailed to the wall. Nothing like that. And but Zuko was able so Zuko was terrifying by itself. Their son was terrifying. They had they didn't just do the deed once. They did it like through the rest of their lives. Names. Yeah. Imagine sleeping with a person that always wants to do the deed, and you keep doing it over and over and over again. Yeah. So then, but sad part is, you know that saying that does death do us apart thing? Well, they're immortal, or they've been blessed to be immortal, and but they can never age, they can never die thing. So, yeah. So then, poor little Zuko had to go through a lot of like terrifying things. Like, AKA, he goes into her trophy room to see like people that she killed. As he walks down, and only one person that catches his eye was his mother, Inko. Her body was on top. And let me remind you, they all had their clothes like stripped away from them. So it was. So he's terrified because he sees Inko's head on a platter with the rest of them in a row. He sees. It's like the same thing where Ochako's body was and plus their kid or their son was like when he got older, there was nobody left alive for him to mate with. So Zuko tells Toga that he needs to keep our legacy up. Yes. As he says, or of course, he takes their son, that's now 8 or 15-year old, and walks down the aisle. And of course, Zuko says, pick any of these girls as you like. Or just choose one and whore it. And you know who he chose? Knows to be his girlfriend? He chose those Momos whose I was gonna say he Zuko's his tire thing, like Inko hose, but yeah, Zuko was pretty much he was afraid that if he chose Inko to be, yeah. So then, but then he, of course, his son or their son chose Momo. Oh, yeah, and he wanted to choose two people, so he chose Momo to be like a first wife. Number two, he chose Ochako to be his second wife. It scares me as so Zuko tells Toga. Toga says, "Okay, let me get their bodies from my trophy room." As Ochako's like they didn't or he actually did a fusion thing, like he fused him because their son had a power of fusion or quirk called fusion. So he ended up fusing Ochako's body with Momo's body, like fusing both of them together into one entity. So basically, it looked like Ochako had like really long hair, like two things on the front, one giant ponytail in the back. But it has brown and black, or like a little bit dark brown, like combined of brown and black. Yeah. So so she has the same face as El Chaco, or like the little red marks on her face. And yeah. So then Toga used her power to like stitch up um um them, like fuse them together to create a girl, oh, for their son. As yeah. So then they got married right after after the got creation thing. And you know what the sick part was? The Toga, every time she kills them, she actually absorbs their quirks. Like, yeah, literally absorbs all of their quirks stashed into her body. So it's making her go like supernova. Yeah. It's scary, I know, but bear with me now. It was like Scary Man once told me that once it starts, it's all over for whoever. So Zuko, who, or yeah, Zuko, or so Toga got like this corruption power. So it corrupted her soul, her mind, and to act completely different. It's like a whole new personality just taking over her mind. Took full control of her life. She starts killing Helene. So she drank their blood. She does that stuff. She made, and for those like people that in like a trophy room, like when she goes down and if like I don't like that one, send him to who like getting Hested thing and all that stuff. Because when I said he has bodyguards things like her own goons that she created, she actually one day or like one time when she was by herself and she was like thinking, and he had like she looked at Mina's naked body, and you know what she says? Well, this won't work. So then she took Mina off like her body and her head off from the like her trophy room, went downstairs and said, "Hey, just do whatever to her, okay?" And so they did for the rest of their lives because they're immortal. So yeah, it was scary. So that's why it's called a dark version, or this is the what if dark version. So yeah, if you guys want to, like, watch the beginning, like, first part of the Hey What If Warlock was in My Hero Academia first part, go check out. Okay? Because this is going to be the end of this What If thing. Because it goes super dark afterwards. Yeah. So, yeah. So she became a queen of the entire world with her husband Zuko, and they had a son that got married to Ochako Momo. Oh, that's a fusion. And every person that she doesn't, or they do not like, they sent them down into the basement. Yeah. So, like, actually, one time, when Toga figured out who this green-haired girl is, this girl right here, turns out was Zuko's mother. And in this alternate timeline, Toga didn't really like not Zuko, Inko. So basically she got Inko to be put it down in the basement. Yeah. So 18 plus. Us. Yeah. So when I say that, it's they do naughty things in the basement to those people that Toga doesn't like. So, peace out, y'all, and have a good night or day, and talk to you guys later.